Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this week's Midweek Moment. 2.5 years ago, I was standing in my family room on a conference call with local pastors. We were doing a prayer conference call. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw a silhouette of a man walking into our garage. And I knew that my husband was at work, so I knew it couldn't possibly be him. So my brain automatically went to the worst case scenario. And right in the middle of this prayer call, I screamed, "Someone is breaking into my house!" And I hung up the phone very quickly. And I went to go look out the window to see exactly who it was, and turned out it was just our gardener. But now I had to fess up to these pastors that no one was in fact breaking into our house, and they started to panic. They weren't sure if they should call the police or if they should call the church here. They were very concerned about me, but this was just such a typical Tara Beth embarrassing moment. You see, I expected the worst. I couldn't see clearly. I saw a silhouette, and my brain just went to the worst case scenario. I mistook our gardener for a robber. Over the last few weeks for our season of Lent, we've been kind of hovering around the Gospel of Luke for our series, Table Manners. And one of the things that has stood out is the Pharisees and the religious leaders and the experts of the law seem to have a rather distorted vision of who Jesus is. They can't seem to make sense of him. And time after time, they continue to get it wrong. They too expected the worst. They constantly went to the worst case scenario, and their vision was time and time sorely distorted. And in Luke chapter 9, Jesus encounters a man who is blind, and it happened to be the Sabbath. And Jesus goes to him, and he spits on the ground and makes some mud, and he puts it on the man's eye, and he told him to go wash in the pool of Siloam, and he could see. The Pharisees, however, were standing, and they saw what was happening. And once again, they called Jesus a sinner for healing on the Sabbath. Their vision was once again distorted and limited. And on the other hand, the blind man saw not just physically, but he started to see Jesus for who he was. He moved from physically blind to confessing things about Jesus, to becoming a believer. So it's two kinds of people. One who misses out on the miracles of God because of their hard hearts. Instead of a willingness to open their eyes, they wanted to stay stuck. They wanted to stay angry. They wanted to stay blind. They wanted to stay propped up and superior. But on the other end, there was this blind man who was open to the works of God, humble, and then worshipful. And I believe that both of these kinds of people exist in the world, and dare I say, the church? So which are you? Open and humble, or stuck and stubborn? Are you blind, or can you see? Well, that's all for this week's Midweek Moment. See you next week.